Good evening, everyone. This is Chuck, and welcome to CRN. Basically, this is Chuck's show. I really didn't give it a name. John's been telling me to give the show a name, and I haven't done that yet. So, what I want to talk about first is I want to revisit the topic that I spoke about yesterday, and that was the shooting that occurred in Florida at the Majority, what's that school? Majority Stoneman Douglas High School. I am very troubled by the sequence of events that occurred at that incident. But this is what I think this is how it should have gone down. And to illustrate this, I'm going to play police radio that happened in Vegas when Paddock was shooting up the concert goers at the country concert across the street from the Mandalay Bay Hotel.
Control 020.
020, go ahead.
Please sit on the suspect's door. I need everybody in that hallway to be aware of it and get back. We need to pop this and see if we get any type of response from this guy. To see if he's in here or if he's actually moved out somewhere else.
Copy. All units on the 32nd floor. SWAT has explosive breach. Everyone in the hallway needs to move back. All units move back.
Breach. They need to make it. We are clearing this room. We have one suspect.
CP, Maritime 1, we can head to the Trop if you need us. Control 374, Convention Center 25, strike team already en route to the Tropicana.
We need the air clear for Zebra 20. They have one suspect down inside the room. Zebra 20 has one suspect down inside the room.
Okay. So in the Vegas shooting, Paddock was basically using what most, excuse me, I got a cough here. What most will describe as an assault rifle was shooting out the window. Well, basically he broke the window, I think, and was shooting from the hotel room into the crowd that was gathered for the country concert across the street. As soon as the first thing the police did when they arrived was set up triage and basically helped everyone to safely or try to escape the line of fire that the sniper was shooting from. As soon as they were able to determine or localize where the gunshots were coming from, that's when law enforcement officers approached the Mandalay Bay Hotel and they tried to isolate or determine which room the shooter was firing from. And once they did that, SWAT basically just told through radio dispatch that they were going to breach the room. They need everyone to step back. And when they did, Paddock was taken down. The shooting stopped. Now, this is in far contrast to what happened in Florida earlier this month at the Majority Stoneman Douglas High School shooting. And what I'm going to play to you is basically a recording of the police radio calls from dispatch from that shooting. And this is going to be like 2 minutes.
911, what is your emergency?
I think I hear gunshots.
What is the address that you heard it at, sir?
It sounds like it's over towards the high school, over towards Douglas.
Possible shots fired. 1200 building. Attention all units in District 15. Possible shots fired at 5901 Pine Island Road at Stoneman Douglas High School.
911, what is your emergency?
Yes, there's shots at Stoneman Douglas.
Stop. This phone call coming in is from a student inside Stoneman Douglas High School. He's trying to whisper into his phone. The dispatch couldn't understand what the student was saying, and well, listen to how this played out.
At the school at Stoneman Douglas.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What's happening?
Stoneman Douglas High School. Shut up.
Are you at the school?
Yes, I just got a call from Douglas High School. A female on the line advised they believe there's a shooter at the school.
It's going to be the building off of Holmberg Road. We don't have any description yet. We just hear shots, but appears to be shots fired. Get the school locked down, gentlemen.
My son is in Stoneman Douglas High School. He said he heard noises and talk.
Okay, we do have police on scene.
17 Juliet 4, I had a bad comment that there is a child down. Have fire rescue stage in the area. Tango 2, I got a victim with a gunshot to the right leg.
I love you. I love you. It's going to be fine. Can you hide somewhere? Can you play dead?
Oh, the police are here.
Police officer?
The gate for the student entrance is unlocked. We need to get units in here so we can start trying to find this guy. Victim saying it's a male in a hoodie he could not describe with at least an AR-15, if not an AK-47. So I was advised possibly 3 more victims. The shooter's possibly inside the 3-story building with an ROTC uniform. That was given by Carl Springs Dispatch. If you can check with them and verify.
Check for. They advise us that the school is on
We
lock.
have a command post set up. So we have a perimeter around it. We have two teams going in, checking right now.
Okay, stop. All right. This last one here is troubling. Let me try to play this one again.
Describe with at least an AR-15, if not an AK-47. So I was advised possibly 3 more victims.
Okay. Hold on.
Shooters possibly inside the 3-story building with an ROTC uniform. That was given by Carl Springs Dispatch. If you can check with them and verify.
Check for. They advise us that the school is on
We
lock.
have a command post set up. So we have a perimeter around it. We have two teams.
Okay. So the last law enforcement officer was saying, have a command post set up. We have a perimeter around him. We have 2 units, 2 teams going into checking it out now. Now, it's already general knowledge publicly what happened after that. Basically, the shooting stopped. Eventually, Nicholas, I believe his name was, tried mixing in with the school body, the student body, as they were being evacuated from the school to escape. And then he was later captured after he escaped from school at some other location. But the most troubling part of this was the police, or in this case the sheriff's department that was responding to the Majority Storm and Douglas High School shooting, did not rush in to confront the shooter to keep him from shooting. What they did was they basically created a perimeter. Now, I can understand if they're creating a perimeter during a hostage situation, where negotiations are about to take place to negotiate for the safe release of hostages. But let's remember that all these police started encroaching, started to surround the high school as shootings were occurring, as shots were being fired, as the triggers were being pulled. At that point, there is no room for negotiation. Typically, in a hostage-taking situation where a perimeter is set up, you know, they're on the phone with the bad guy with the gun, negotiating for the lives of you know, the victims that were hijacked or being held for hostage, rather, right? And then if negotiations is over and the shooter decides to start shooting up the place, that's when SWAT or other police units will then breach the building and to rush in to stop the shooter to prevent more innocent lives from being lost. That's when a breach would occur. But that didn't happen in Florida. They decided to just keep a perimeter as shots were being fired. No officer breached the building to confront the shooter as shots were being fired to prevent more loss of life. That's the most controversial realization of what happened in Florida. And I don't understand why the news media is not shining more light and more public attention on what happened, what the sheriff's department did that did not do to save the kids. They did not go into the building. Instead, they focused on encouraging angry people to blame NRA, to blame President Trump's lack of sensitivity. Trump wasn't there pulling the trigger. He wasn't there to shield your kids, and if he was there, I'm pretty sure he would. The NRA wasn't there in Florida in the high school shooting kids up. And if they were there, I'm pretty sure they too would use their bodies to shield kids from bullets. Like that one teacher did. at the high school. I don't have his name, but he basically died, using his body to shield innocent kids from being shot. He's a hero, which is more than can be said for the sheriff's deputy who responded to this shooting. Why isn't the media focusing more attention on the sheriff's department, who could have done more but failed to do so, rather than just put all blame and direct all anger to the NRA, like they do for every tragic shooting, and also to President Trump? When there are two entities in Florida directly responsible for the safety and security of the kids in the school: the school administration, the teachers, the principals, and the police department, who are charged with protecting the public trust, including the students in the high school. The failure was not the NRA. The failure was not Trump. The failure was the staff in the high school and the police department, in this case the sheriff deputies, who did not breach when they had the opportunity to. And for anyone to say differently, that they should focus on the NRA and President Trump, is a complete and utter helpless idiot. And that's my position on the Florida shooting. There is a piece of good news that happened yesterday in Maryland. There was another high school shooting that was about to go down. In fact, it did go down. 2 students were shot. But there was a armed resource officer, law enforcement resource officer, that arrived within minutes of the shooting, confronting the shooter, shot the shooter dead before the shooter could fire more bullets, can squeeze more trigger for other students to be killed. So I'm sure the parents in the great state of Maryland are very, very relieved and have gratitude towards this law enforcement officer, this resource officer, who saved their kids. And I'm sure there's many more in the state of Florida who wish this kind of outcome could have also occurred with their children. There was an interesting article posted by Dawn on Facebook today. It's basically a Wall Street Journal article about kindergarten kids who are going to be protesting for gun control and for safety and so on and so forth. I'm not sure what the context of this is. I'm not even sure if these educators, these kindergarten teachers, actually got permission from their parents to do this. And if they didn't, then I think these educators are scum. You got to be careful with public school teachers, okay, who have a degree. I have a degree, but they feel that they have a degree, and as such, they're special. They're entitled, and they think that they can make better decisions on behalf of their kids than their parents can. You got to watch out for these fuckwits, because they're not smart. They should only be responsible for teaching the kids exactly what the parents send the kids to school to learn: how to read, how to do arithmetic, how to do equations, learn history, whatever. But for any kid under the age of 7 to be exploited to make a political statement is repugnant. It's probably the lowest form of indoctrination. And if there are teachers out there who are actually considering to use nursery kids or kindergarten kids to make a political statement, and if they are not asking the parents on a permission slip for a permission for their kids to participate in this activity, and they go ahead and do it anyways, that teacher is a complete and utter fucking idiot. And any principal who allows that teacher to do this is also a complete and utter fucking idiot. And that's all I'm going to say on the matter. I'm going to give the rest to Dawn if she wants to talk about it on her show later. I think it's something that's worth analyzing and discussing, because there's lots of teachers out there who think they know what they're doing, who think that they know more than the parents of the kids do, and maybe in some cases that they do. That does not give them the green light to indoctrinate their kids or exploit them to make a political statement. That's above and beyond what their primary function as an educator is supposed to be. I wouldn't even consider this to be a lesson in fiscal responsibility. Not for a 5-year-old, for Pete's sake. There's lots of stuff that I should also talk about, I suppose. I have a 5 and maybe 6-year-old battery in my car, not in my car, but on the floor of my garage that I've been able to charge up. It's holding a charge very well, and that I've reconditioned using a mixture of distilled water and Epsom salt. But before I even applied that mixture, I had to empty out the battery fluids into a bucket that was filled with some baking powder. Um, and I used a mixture of distilled water and baking powder that was properly mixed so that all the baking powder was dissolved into the water, baking soda rather, and poured it into the battery, shook it up a little bit, poured it out, and all the dirt and grime and all the other junk that accumulates on a lead battery cells was cleaned. After doing that, I took a mixture of distilled water and Epsom salt, basically 1 part of Epsom salt to 3 parts of distilled water. So for every 3 cups of distilled water, I had 1 cup of Epsom salt. I heated up the water, mixed the Epsom salt, made sure that the Epsom salt was thoroughly dissolved in the water, and then I poured it in slowly with a funnel into each of the battery cells. And it was a deep cycle battery. And I charged it for several days as 2 amps, using a 2 amp a battery charger that was set for 2 amps. And it's holding a charge very well. I'm quite pleased with it. The only thing I'm not able to do at this particular point is to measure ampage. It's the ampage. It's the capacity that is in question right now. I need a load tester that could show ampage, but I don't. I have a load tester showing volts, but not ampage. And I'm going to have to work on getting that. I have another car battery, which is a common lead acid battery out of my wife's truck, and basically it's only half well, but it's generally weak, and every time I try to charge it, I did recondition like half of the cells that were there, because the other half was holding a charge pretty well. And use the same instructions that I followed for this other battery. But I guess for some reason it's not holding a charge, so I'll have to continue working with that battery a little longer. I may have to discharge it and then repeat the steps again, not with the distilled water and the Epsom salt, but basically to discharge it and attempt to recharge it again, and hopefully I'll have better results. But worst case scenario, it might not be recoverable, and I may have to just chuck the battery. That's basically all that I have for today's show. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to my podcast. And as John always says, God bless the Constitution, God bless America, God bless the Republic. Stay strong, stay vigilant. Good night.